afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Ask Sharifa Videocast. I am your host, Sharifa Hardy, and I have an incredible show for you today. And one of the reasons why I know it's going to be so incredible is I love to sit down with people I know so well. I love to be able to share my friends with the world. And today, the person we're going to meet, Ms. Jeanette Paxia, is a transformational speaker and coach. She aims to do whatever she can to help others live life to their fullest. Through her companies, Pax Coaching and Living Mindfully, she works with clients to achieve their goals and transform their lives. And we're also going to talk about her 2 books on today's show of the Ask Sharifa Videocast. But as always, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and share this show because friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifa Videocast. Good afternoon, Jeanette. How are you?
I'm good, Sharifa. How are you?
I'm excited to be able to sit down with you. I know you've been a speaker on some of the panels. You've been interviewed on the show. We've talked from time to time, but this is the first opportunity I've had to sit down with you one-on-one and find out more about you.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love your show. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love what you do. So let's talk about your coaching a little bit.
Okay.
Over the last year, I think, during this global pandemic, during COVID, it's the one time where we as a whole have seen that people need help. They need some type of guidance in their lives. So as a transformational coach, what is it that you do to work with your clients?
I work on in group settings, and I also work one-on-one. I've seen a lot of people who have gained, instead of the freshman 20, the COVID 20. They're maybe not used to working at home, and then they have all this food around. They're not moving as much as they used to move around. And so I've seen a lot of that this year. As a Success Principles certified through Jack Canfield trainer, speaker, and coach, I also am a certified National Board Health and Wellness coach. So that's probably what I've seen the most this year, is people coming to me because they've gained those extra pounds. Also changing the mindset away from fear, working with people on that, because there's been a lot of fear around this year. And as a person who had COVID, I understand the fear. It can be really scary, especially when you've heard a lot of things. And I know that a lot of people have dealt with loss this year, which is hard. But working on the mindset to stay away from fear, and then working on the weight loss or shedding pounds.
Wow, Jeanette, you had COVID?
I did, January 2nd. So if you see me trying to take a deep breath, once in a while, I still have some lasting symptoms that up until today, they're going to all go away soon.
Yes.
Smell and taste has been difficult, and sometimes short of breath.
Oh, I'm sending you a lot of light and love. No,
Thank you.
I can just imagine how that must be for you. But you're out there, you're still going. You didn't stop. It didn't allow you,
Stop.
or you didn't allow it to control you. I think that's the most important thing. Now, when you had COVID, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I like to use certain people as examples, because some people get a little cold and they're like, I can't go anywhere. I can't get out of the bed. Now, you had COVID. How did that affect you mentally as far as what you were doing and what was going on in your life?
Well, I have a family of 7, and the 4 of us got it that we know. I had the little kids, I didn't get tested. So I really I'm not a person who stops very much and slows down. I mean, I have my routine in the morning, my meditation. I do that every day, my yoga. But when I go, I go. And it completely stopped me in my tracks for 3 weeks. I was really just sleeping and resting and letting my body heal, which it needed to do. Very hard for me to do. And I actually turned 50 during this time in the first week of having it, second week. And thank you. But it was a lot of mindset work. And when I would start to get down, I mean, I teach this stuff, but that doesn't mean you're immune to it. And when I'd start to get down, my husband would say, remember the fear, and he would remind me, or the kids would remind me. So we'd kind of help each other. But I think it's really essential when you get sick or something is going on, you have to take care of yourself if you want to heal. And so I really took the time to just focus on what my body was telling me it needed to do, which was a lot of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of sleep.
So your body is telling you to sleep, but I'm pretty sure the world was saying, Jeanette, we need you. We need you to work with this client. We need you to do, we need you to do that. So as busy business owners and entrepreneurs, what happened after that 3 weeks when you came back? Did you have to put your life back together?
I did, slowly. After the first 3 weeks, I still had some exhaustion. So it was slowly getting back to work. And of course, I missed my clients and they missed me. And so it was just getting back to what we were working on and moving forward that way, realizing how much I love my work. I mean, I knew that before, but when you don't have it in front of you every day, it kind of makes itself known that you really do miss it. And I enjoy helping people. And I didn't expect to start the year out this way. And it really relates to the success principles in what we talk about as E plus R equals O. So event plus response equals outcome. Your power is in your response. You can't change the outcome unless you change that response. And so I really had to see how I was responding to it. The fear because of what you've heard, and I try not to listen to the news. How was I going to respond to what my body was telling me? Was I going to rest? How was I going to respond to the signs? Luckily, I'm also a nurse, so I knew I have the equipment here to kind of test my oxygen and everything. I knew what to do. So how was I going to respond to that? It was all about my response. And I could have really gotten down because here I was, I turned 50. I couldn't taste, I couldn't smell. So celebrating was not the top of my list. And here it was the new year and everybody was like, 2021 is going to be much better than 2020. And we started off with COVID. So it's, how did I respond? How did my family respond?
Yes. No, Jeanette, we talked about how it affected you as a business person, but let's go over to how it affected you as an individual. One of the things that we've seen over the past year is so many people just standing in gratitude for everything they have, because you had COVID, but you recovered, you came back. Did it change your mindset as far as gratitude or, oh my God, I went through this, I'm just so happy to be here?
It's funny that you say that because I didn't get on social media for a little bit because I just didn't have the energy, but I wrote this long post about how very grateful. I mean, I sit in gratitude every day. Actually, my alarm just went off. I have an alarm that goes off at 11:11 and 1:11 that reminds me to do a minute of gratitude. And I wake up in gratitude. I go to bed in gratitude. So I already do that. But literally, it made me stop and say, you know what? Every breath I take, I'm grateful for. If I'm not short of breath, I'm grateful for it. And I mean, I'm grateful even when I'm short of breath because it allows me to do it. My body allows me to do what it needs to do. My immune system. I'm grateful for all the support I had, all the people that reached out to me. Definitely for my family who was also going through it. We all had it. 4 of us had it, like I said. And very grateful for my sense of smell and taste. I have a really, really good sense of smell. So this being taken from me it just allows me to see how very much I appreciated that, even though a lot of people would say, wow, your sense of smell is too strong. I would love, like every time I walk by something and I can smell it, like I smelled an orange and I actually smelled my soap today when I was taking a shower. And I was like, wow, I just really am grateful for that. And just to be alive, I mean, you have to really realize living mindfully is really important because you only have this moment. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. So you need to enjoy each moment that you have.
I think that is so beautiful. Now, did it change the way you work with your clients? Maybe prior to having COVID, it was more of, okay, these are the things that we need to do. But then maybe after with gratitude, it's like you look at problems as so minor. So with your coaching people, clients that you work with, did you have a different perspective in any form of fashion on even their issues and what they were going through?
Not really, because I've always taught gratitude and the importance of it. You can't physically be stressed and upset at the same time you're grateful. So switching that mindset, I would say maybe the only thing it did was give me a different perspective on the fear that people may be going through, the real visceral fear of, am I going to survive this? Am I going to end up in the hospital? What's then going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my job? And financially, it took me down a little bit, right? Because I didn't have, money coming in that I had planned on having come in. So it changed, maybe gave me a little more empathy for the fear that people are experiencing, but I've always had empathy. It's part of being a coach.
No, you're always amazing. And when I saw you speak at the last summit, I just love your courage and your strength. And so that was the December then. So you got the so that happened recently after the summit. So I don't want to focus too much on COVID, but I haven't met anyone who has COVID. I've met people who their family or their friends, or they know someone who's had COVID, but to actually speak to someone who's had it, because there are some conspiracy theorists who will tell you, oh, it's not even real. It doesn't exist. It's made up by the government. And then you speak to someone and says, no, I had it. It was real. This happened to me.
Mm-hmm. And as a nurse, I'm very fascinated by it, the pathophysiology of it. How come some people get it and some people don't? Different strains of it. It was interesting to see. And we all had some symptoms that were the same, but like our oldest two children had it, but they're younger than us. They reacted differently, and I reacted differently than my husband. One of the signs that I've only heard Ellen DeGeneres say she had, other than that, really no one I've talked to, and it was excruciating back pain to the point that I woke up screaming my head off. I'm surprised someone did not call the police. I mean, screaming. I couldn't breathe or move because I was so paralyzed with pain. And I've had 2 natural childbirths and a lot of broken bones. And this was, it was indescribable. I couldn't explain it to anybody. So just different signs and symptoms. It all fascinates me as far as how COVID works. I would say it's definitely a real thing. And I've heard all the theories, but I think a lot more of us have had it, but just maybe asymptomatic. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, what you said was interesting to me. So you had this excruciating back pain, but yet your husband didn't have excruciating back pain, and your 2 children didn't have excruciating back pain. But then you also have 3 younger ones.
So we have 5 kids together as a blended family.
Okay.
So the younger ones, we didn't get tested. I didn't feel like they needed to be tested. They had a couple headaches and maybe were a little tired, but who knows if it was just having school from home because they're still getting used to computers and working through computers or what it was. But yeah, the 11 and 12-year-old didn't show any signs. And then my 20-year-old works in a grocery store. So we think he may have had it already before.
It's interesting how some people within the same house can be affected and then other people aren't affected. It's just so interesting, everything that has happened and what we've learned over the past year. And I believe that one thing that we have all learned as a society is that we're going through this together. It affects everyone.
The whole world.
Have COVID or not. It's the anxiety of not knowing who's affected. It's just incredible. It's just really incredible. Now, I wanted to, because Jeanette, I tell you, I did not even intend to spend this much time talking about COVID, but you just kind of threw me with that one. I'm like, oh my God, I have so many questions I've never been able to ask. But I want to talk about your coaching in particular, because one of the things that you spoke about is that you want to help others live their life to the fullest. What does that mean, living your life to the fullest?
I am an international best-selling author for my story in Women Who Rise, which came out last April, right among COVID. And that story is about how I responded, response to the loss of my mom. Yeah. My mom died at 66. We're not sure what type of cancer. It was very quick. She was never sick before that we knew of. You'd have to read the story to hear it all. But That was 11 years ago now. So it's 2010. And ever since then, I have really been focused on living life happily, living life to the fullest because of what I said a few minutes ago. You only have this moment. What are you going to do in it? What are you going to, or what are your kids or your family or anyone around you, your friends, going to remember about you? Are they going to remember how much work you did, or are they going to remember the things you did for them, how you made them feel? And I feel like it's important that you would try to enjoy your life, or you do enjoy your life, because it is short and you can't take that stuff with you, but the memories stick.
Mm-hmm. So how do you incorporate that into your coaching? When people are so frustrated, and they're tired, they're stressed, they have the COVID-20, they're anxious, how do you work with them to get past that?
It's small steps usually, depends on the person, but it's usually small steps. And you always have to start with assessing where they're at and then working on that mindfulness. So one of the programs I have is called Living Mindfully, and I have different subsets of it, but the first program I started was Mindful Pregnancy, Mindful Birth. Pregnancy and birth is so quick. It's a year. It feels like it's going to be forever, but it's not. You blink. Here I blinked and I have a 23-year-old. I have a child with a beard and children that drive. So it happens so quickly, and it's really paying attention in that moment. How can you live your life to the fullest? How can you be happy? Be mindful. Pay attention to what you're doing. Focus on what's important. And I'm not saying that your whole day can be, you have work, you have other things to do, but write a list and do the things that are the most important for that day, and then spend that quality time with your children. Put the phones down. Take them places, laugh with them, enjoy that, so that at the end of the day, you can look back and say, you know what, I had a day that was busy, but I took some time, spent it with my family. I had some joy. The other thing I do is work on, I think it's important to find your soul purpose. I believe, and not everybody does, but I believe we're all here for a purpose. We all have a reason. And then if you align what you do with those values and why you're here, you're going to be happier. If you're going against your values, or you're doing things that really don't serve your soul purpose, it makes it harder for you to live a happy life.
How do you determine your soul purpose? Is it a moment, eureka, I got it? Or how does that develop?
I believe that, and Jack Canfield talks a little bit about this too. He talks a lot about how you can break through and how you can find your soul purpose. But what makes you happy? What do you enjoy? And sometimes that might not be your career, but your hobby, but you still focus on it, you still work on it. But if you sit and you really reflect on what brings you joy, and if you say so my son works, like I said, at a grocery store, and he enjoys talking to the people. He's able to do that there. He enjoys helping people. So it can be from the smallest little thing to, huge things. But finding what you enjoy and what makes you laugh. Another one of my sons, he has a degree in horticulture, and he loves working with plants. So it's not necessarily going to be being famous or being on a stage. May not be widespread. It may be just one-on-one, but what is it that makes you laugh? What is it that brings you joy? The son that works at the grocery store, he loves animals. So he volunteers taking care of animals so that he can have joy that way.
I love it. I think that's great. And it reminds me, I always talk about, as a child, I was always a little envious of people who knew exactly what they wanted to do. I have a cousin of mine who right now, to this day, is a news reporter in Columbus, Ohio, on a major station. I don't know if it's Channel 2, Channel 4, whatever, but it's a major station. He's about 42 now, but when he was 9 years old, he'd walk around the house with a spoon and he'd interview everybody.
He knew.
And I was like, I want to do that. I want to be that person that just knew. And I never knew. I never felt that I had a calling or a specific purpose, what I wanted to do with my life. But now I go, okay, I can see the path because I'm a talk show host. But I was also
You
that
found
little
it.
child, yes, who my mom was like, if you do not stop talking, like you just talk and talk and talk and talk. So it was there all along. But how can people tune into and hone that exact thing that they're supposed to be doing?
I think it's intuitive, and you really need to tune into yourself and listen. Sometimes you just need to be quiet, be still, and listen. And I also think that it can change. Maybe what you like to do right now is different than what you like to do, before, and that can change too. Maybe you've accomplished your first purpose, and now you're going to do something different. Maybe it's as simple as paying it forward and just being kind to others. But paying attention to your body and your reactions. Are you really, really stressed about what you're doing? And there's some good stress, right? But if you're coming home every day frustrated, stressed, upset, you're grabbing that glass of wine because it's the only thing that can calm you down. What is your body trying to tell you? What is your mind trying to tell you? Pay attention.
Mm-hmm. I need to keep that in mind, because one of the things that I've learned, and people think I'm weird, but I will go to sleep in the middle of the day because my body is like, it's time to rest. I don't look at the clock and say it's not 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. I will take a mid-afternoon nap faster than just about anyone. Now, Jeanette, we talked about your coaching services, but you have 2 books. I'd love to hear more about your books.
So in December, I released a children's book titled I'm a Superhero. It's my 3rd children's book. And this Sunday, I'm so excited that I am one of 36 authors from the Jack Canfield Success Principles Trainers and Coaches. It's class of 2019. I was assistant for this class, and the rest of the authors in it were in that class. And it's called Life Lessons in Success. So we talk about how we have applied the success principles in our life. And it might have been even before we knew what the success principles were, but how we created success in situations. For me, the story in Life Lessons in Success relates to why I write children's books. The story is about when I was bullied as a child, and I'm going to bring up E plus R equals O again. What was my response to being bullied? Instead of letting it ruin my whole life, which it could have, because it was a year of bullying, I chose to help and empower children through writing the books and through my anti-bullying programs at schools that I do in libraries. Teaching, I dress as Wonder Woman, and I go to the schools and I teach children how to really look inside and love yourself and empower them so that they don't allow other people's words or actions to define them. I really feel that we have the responsibility to help children stop the bullying, stop the violence, unnecessary violence in schools. Not as much right now. I think the bullying is more cyberbullying right now because a lot of kids aren't in school in person. But how do we stop that? And so that's Life Lessons in Success. That'll be out this Sunday. There are a lot of wonderful stories in it, from the birth of children to losing loved ones to listening to your intuition. And then the person whose idea it was, as we were at Canfield, Angie Dobransky, she's in it, or she's one of the authors. She did a lot of work on this book. Not that the rest of us didn't, but she did a lot of work, and she talks a lot about taking action, which is something a lot of people miss. And that's one of the success principles too. I teach vision board classes too. I do a lot of stuff. And a lot of times people create a vision board and then they think, let me sit back now and everything's going to come to me. But you really do have to take action too. I believe that, sorry.
No, just the action is important.
It is important. It's very important. Like I said, things aren't just going to come to you. I mean, you do the vision boards, you do all of the affirmations and goals so that you can get your mind to work with you, right? Your subconscious mind is so smart, and it will help get you where you want to go, but you still have to take action. And this book has a story, I really believe, for everybody. I mean, there's something you're going to find in there. And Jack wrote the foreword for it. So I'm very excited for it, and excited for all the children I'm helping with my children's books.
I'm very excited. What's the name of the book and where can people find it?
Life Lessons in Success. You can find it on Amazon on Sunday. And you can also, if you need the link, let me know and I'll get you the link. But we're launching Sunday. If you want to come to the launch party, let me know and I'll send you the Zoom for that. Just very excited for what this book is going to do to help people.
Definitely going to check it out. I would love that link. But before we go on talking about your next book, I want to go back a little bit to when you were talking about you were bullied as a child and you could have handled it certain ways. Do you feel that that experience is still, how do you feel as an adult looking back at that experience, at the younger Jeanette and what you went through? Do you look at it and go, you know what, now I don't have a voice because I wasn't given a voice as a child? Do you look at it and go, you know what, if I would have stood up for myself, things would have been different? Well, how do you view the younger you as an adult?
It was a really scary and stressful time for me. I cried every single day for years while I was at this school. And as an adult, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. Most people have. But as an adult, I look back and I know that everything that happened to me so that I can be where I'm at now, so I can be the person that I am now. If that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't dress as Wonder Woman and go to schools and work as anti-bullying. I wouldn't be writing children's books. But that initiated this person now who helps empower children. So it was important. If you had asked me at that time, I may have had a different point of view on it because it really was a very stressful situation for me. It was literally years, and I had gone, and you can read the story in the book, but I had gone from a public school that I was very popular and I knew everybody and everyone was supportive of each other, to this other school where I was not in the same financial class as the other kids and literally bullied every day.
Wow. So you mentioned the financial class. Usually when financial classes come in, maybe it's the clothes that people wear or the toys or the, different things that people with more financial ability have, and they look down and say, okay, well, you don't have this or you don't have that. Was that a part of it for you?
Yes, we wore uniforms, but shoes, you still have to wear shoes. And I was very naive and I didn't realize that you don't talk about where you got your shoes if you don't, if you didn't get them at a place that was more expensive. And I was just naive. I just trusted everybody and loved everybody. Even as a child, I wanted to help everybody and every animal, every bug, everything. And even at that time. So as you can see, I grew up doing the same thing. But we wore uniforms to try to avoid that, but it was the shoes. It was the
shoes, because we all look at the red bottoms. Everybody has to have a particular shoe or they're not in the in crowd. But let me ask you, do you feel, because I'm going to assume, and this is an assumption, that you've been out of this experience for at least 20 years, right? So it was at least, some years ago.
A few more years than that, yes. It was fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. So,
right.
And I told you I'm 50.
Yes.
So it was a few years ago.
It was a few years ago. So one of the things that people talk about now is that bullying is so much worse in 2020, 2021 than it was in previous years, mainly because of the cyberbullying and the students take home their phones and they never can really get away from their bullies. Would you agree, or do you feel bullying is bullying?
I believe bullying is bullying, and it's always been out there. The difference, in my opinion, now is that children are used to instant replies and instant feedback, and they instantly respond to that. Stop for a second, pause. I mean, I even talked to my clients that work with weight loss in this, pause for a second, because your response in the moment may not be the response that you have in a few minutes. Pause before you send that text or even react to that text. I mean, there's a lot of kids, unfortunately, now that are reacting quickly. And, you know, they take their lives, and when, if they had given it a pause, or if they really looked into the situation, it could have been a different outcome. And I'm not an expert at that, so I'm not even, you know, going to go into that, but that's what I believe is the difference now. I think there's always been bullying, always, but now it's more of an instantaneous. And the cyberbullying is, I mean, it's out there. When you react to something, when you put something on Facebook or social media, whatever social media people are using, it's always out there. So be careful what you say, be careful what you do, be kind. There's no reason. You may think something, but my mom used to say, if you can't say anything nice, then don't say anything at all. And that it's, so I used to say, well, I hate that person. She'd say, you don't hate them, you hate what they did. So really thinking about what you're doing before you respond, and thinking about what you feel about yourself, and not putting so much into what other people think about you.
Mm-hmm. Now, if someone is being bullied, what's some advice that you can give them?
Really reflect on what you think about yourself, and know that, find all the things that you love about yourself. Look in the mirror and find those things that you love. We tend to look in the mirror and find what we hate, but find what you love about yourself, and really know you're here for a reason. I mean, the circumstances that had to play out for you to be here, you're here for a reason. We're all unique. We have our own qualities. And so just know without a doubt that you're special. You have your own special traits, and what other people say really does not matter. It's what you say about yourself.
Yes, I love that. That is just wonderful words of wisdom. Now, you mentioned the success principles several times. What are the success principles?
So it's a book. Actually, I have it right here.
Look at
that. I did. I was looking at it for something else. So Jack Canfield wrote a book. He's the co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and that's why I'm certified as Success Principles trainer, speaker, and coach. And there's 67 different principles for success. And he says it's how to get from where you are to where you want to be. How do you know where you want to be? Using success. And success means something different for everyone. For me, it's, how have I helped people today? How have I paid it forward? And what can I do to be better tomorrow? Always analyzing and changing and moving forward. But success means different things to different people and different times. Is it maybe you created a goal and you achieved it? Is that how you define success? I would say that defining success by comparing yourself to yourself and not others is essential, because we're all in different places. But that's what the success principles are. It's just a way to achieve success. There's 67 different principles.
I will definitely have to check it out. For me, success is the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it. You know, and being a talk show host and business consultant, I get emails from recruiters all the time who offer me positions and offer me jobs. And I look at it in this like idea of working 40 hours for someone else. It doesn't really matter the salary or the commute. It's the fact that I have to stay there for 40 hours is the one thing that I am not willing to do anymore. So just being able to live my life, though it does, you know, plenty of people make way more money than me, but I just feel that I'm happy because I can do what I want to do when I want to do it.
And that's that freedom of choice. And you have created the life that you want to live by defining what that is. You just said, right? I don't want to work for someone else. I want to work for myself. I want that choice. So you know that. Some people, I love that too, you know, that freedom of choice. Some people feel more comfortable working for somebody else and knowing that they have that paycheck every week coming in and not having to worry about marketing and all the things that come along with that. We're all different. So it's, yes. What do you define success as? And I love that. I love your definition.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we're all different. I don't knock anyone, but I know what works for me. You know, I worked those 70-hour work weeks for corporations and been there for everyone through all these emergencies. And then I look back and go, okay, but how much further is my life? How has that benefited my life, especially as a salaried employee? You know, you're working all these hours and you're not getting financially compensated for it. So I just love to be able to do what I want to do. Now, we're coming down to the end of the show. So I want to make sure, I want to definitely talk about your next book, your other book.
The Life Lessons in Success, or the other books I have coming out after this.
Yes, we want to hear about everything you have going on.
So remember to check out Life Lessons in Success on Sunday, the 21st. My next children's book is called Superheroes on the Spectrum, and it is real life kids. So it's similar to Life Lessons in Success, where there's several different stories, but it's children and adults who are on the autism spectrum. And if they're able to write, then they write about themselves, in addition to having their parents or caregivers write about them. My 20-year-old is on the spectrum. He has Asperger's, or he was diagnosed with Asperger's. They've changed the names through the years. But I feel like also it's very important that Asperger's or autism is one of those things that everybody's so different, and the diagnosis is not exactly the same, and people don't understand it, and they look at you weird, and they think, well, what's up with your child? Or why aren't you just beating them? I've had people tell me that child needs a good beating. Well, it's not necessarily what I feel. And looking at their stories and how they feel and how the world sees them, and then looking at how they feel and comparing that, was an important step for me. So that's my next book, Superheroes on the Spectrum. Staying with the superheroes theme, I have You Are a Superhero, I Am a Superhero, and now the Superheroes on the Spectrum.
Did you work with your 20-year-old on the book? Did you work together?
He's in it, yes. It's still in process, but he is in it. He doesn't like limelight that much. He just likes his own little things, but I felt it was important, and so he was okay with it. But definitely his story is in the book.
That's wonderful, but it's something that you're able to do together. That's what I look at. Yes, that's amazing. And when is that one coming out?
This year. I don't have a date yet.
Okay.
I'm planning on having it come out this year, but I have a lot of books in my head that just haven't gotten written yet. They're on their way.
So how many have you published?
I have published with this one on Sunday 5.
Oh, wow. Wow. So when you wrote your first book, how long did it take you to complete?
Not very long. For example, I Am a Superhero. It literally took me 5 minutes. I get inspired. I love writing. I have always loved writing. Actually, since I read Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul when I was young, I've always wanted to be a writer. That's part of what I've wanted to do to help spread the word. And when I get inspired, it's real quick. It's like one of those things where I'll wake up at 2 a.m. and grab my phone and just start writing on my phone. And then I get up and I have a whole story. So not very long at all. I get inspired.
Did you say 5 minutes?
Mm-hmm. I had You Are a Superhero, and I talked to someone Miriam, I Am a Superhero is actually dedicated partially to her, because she said, that book is really good, but it needs to be shorter. You need to have a story that someone can read in 10 minutes to their child at night. And I walked home from dinner with her and wrote the whole book in my head and just went back and wrote it. It was minutes.
I am impressed. Most people, they take 20 years to write one book because
it's short.
No, it's actually getting to the beginning, to start writing. It's so much fear and anxiety of who am I to be a writer? Is it good enough? I don't think I'm good enough. I can't write, can't spell. My grammar is awful. So people just don't do anything. So I love it when people move like I do and just do it quickly and get her done, as they say. But once you wrote the book in 5 minutes, you wrote it out and it was done. Did you know where you were going to take it? Did you know if you were going to do self-publishing? What were the next steps?
No, I wasn't sure. I mean, I've had self-published books and I've worked with publishers and I've worked hybrid. So I've done every type of publishing I think that there is. I didn't know what I was going to do with it at the time, so I had to research. And you're always editing, you can always make it better. But if you have that story, but you don't know how to edit, that's okay, because you can find someone who does, someone who has that expertise. You don't necessarily have to have it perfect the first time. You write it out and you modify, you move forward. I then took it to a target audience. I took it to a school and I read it at school and they had suggestions. So I made some of those changes. Always a work in progress, and it can always be changed. You'll always find something in it where you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Or I should have said this differently.
Well, that's good that you're open to the changes, because sometimes when people are working and they're so passionate and tied to their work, they don't want anyone to change anything. They just want you to listen, read the book. I did the ending the way I wanted to do the ending. I made it read the way I wanted to. So the fact that you took the input, I think, is wonderful.
You have to, and I'm going to keep bringing up the success principles. You're going to say another one, but use feedback to your advantage is one of the success principles too. How are you going to move forward if you don't take that feedback and use it to your advantage? You may not use it all. I didn't take all the suggestions, but I looked at them and I thought about it and I said, well, maybe this one will work, but this one won't for me. Mm-hmm. But how are you going to move forward if you don't take criticism or feedback?
Yes, I definitely agree. I'm one of those, my friends say I'm that kind of survey says kind of person. I always call everybody and get their input. And what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about this? And then do exactly what I want to do. But I hear different opinions and different sides of their thoughts on what I want to do. So I completely agree with you on that. Feedback is definitely important. But I want to go back to your coaching for a minute. And you talked about vision boarding. Do you teach vision boarding classes or anything like that?
I do post or pre-COVID. I did in person. I haven't taught one online yet, but I do teach them. I love vision boards. Love them. I have several of them. And the first one I did within 6 months, 90% of it came true. And some of it was stuff that I was like, I don't know how that's going to happen. You don't need to know the how. You just need to know what you want. It was pretty amazing.
So you said 90% of what you put on your vision board happened. Do you feel that's because you were clear on specifically what you wanted, or you just think it was happenstance?
I feel like it's because I visualized, I looked at the vision board, I visualized, I created goals. And as I said before, the subconscious mind is very powerful, and it helped us get there. I mean, one of them was moving across country.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, there was just no way. I don't know how this is going to happen, but I have to worry about the how, just what I wanted. And it worked for me.
The how. Yes, I remember I taught one vision board class, the only one I taught, and then I was like frustrated with it because I don't know if you can tell, Jeanette, I am not a people person. I don't people very often or very well, but they asked me to teach this class. So I'm teaching this class, and a friend of mine was in the class. And so we're having them cut out the magazine pictures and different things that she wants. And this young lady, she's making her board full of mermaids and unicorns and stuff. And I went and I just ripped her board up. I was like, you're wasting my time. It was fun. She was a friend. But I'm like, if we're going to do this, we have to take it serious. Like, vision some things that you actually want in your life. I'm sorry. I hate to be the naysayer or negative Nelly, but you will never be a mermaid. Never. I don't care how much you vision it. So don't waste my time.
Well, Sharifa, I'm not going to say you can never be a mermaid. What if there's people who are like dress up as mermaids and do children's parties.
No,
that's the kind of mermaid you are.
No, I'm
dressed as a mermaid.
No, it was a lot of fun, but I think the thing more than anything that I wanted people to get is that you have to be crystal clear on what you really want. Anything else is just kind of playing with it and playing with the universe and just saying different things. But if you don't truly want it, then you're not going to manifest it.
You have to define your vision and what, it has to be, there's goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, smart, however you use that analogy. But that goes along with I have a picture of moving across country. Well, what are the goals I'm going to use to get there? So it's not just vision boards. It's not just affirmations. It's not just goals. It's not just taking action. You have to know what you want, set the goals, do the vision board, the affirmations, and put it all together.
I think that's powerful. I think people definitely would want to sit down with you because you're an amazing woman, amazing coach, and I believe that you will definitely change their life. Now, Jeanette, we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show, and what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching the show, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. So I'm going to give you the floor. Take your time.
I talked about a lot of different things today, but I think one of the most important things that I talked about is gratitude and being grateful for every moment and everything you can, down to the ability to be able to breathe and your immune system that's working well for you. Take the time to enjoy life because it is short, and live it mindfully. If you want some more information or stories to identify with, Life Lessons in Success is launching this Sunday. There is 36 different stories in there. So you're bound to find one that helps you, whether it's just this moment or maybe you pick it up in a year and a different story. You identify with a different story, but it's coming out, and I hope that you join me in being grateful and achieving success.
I definitely hope that you pick up a copy, and don't just pick up one copy, pick up a few copies, because there's someone in your life, in your network, who needs this information as well. So I always ask that you share the information. So Jeanette, it has been a pleasure, an honor to be able to sit down with you and pick your brain and find out all about your thoughts on your life and what's going on in the world. So I just want to thank you for being a guest today. And I also want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show. We definitely appreciate your support, but I just ask, don't just watch the show. We appreciate you sharing the show, but please support our guests. Jeanette's website link is in the Facebook post. Visit her website, reach out to her, take a class, take a course. Maybe you want some coaching. Jeanette is the person for you. And if you're interested in more ways I can help your business, or maybe you want to be a guest, visit my website at AskSharifa.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.